Hey guys, so we're coming to the second day of my CSPO classes. So that's the uh, third half day in the morning. So I'll share once again my whiteboard. Sorry, wrong button. No, it's the right one. So what you can see on here, this is the third swim lane for the third half day of my CSPO classes. And the morning session on this second day begins with a yeah, it's a kind of a daily. It's not the exact daily from Scrum, but what we do is a roundup. We go together in a circle, as good as we can in a circle. And I asked the people two questions, actually, what they took away from the first day and what they expect for the second day. And then, yeah, I'll explain also once again in the end a little bit about the daily Scrum and the purpose of that. Not too much because that's more a topic for the Scrum Master classes and was covered briefly already on the first day anyway. So the second half, the second day and the morning session of that is parts of working with the product owner, with the product backlog, and parts of understanding customers and users once again. After the daily, we go right into an exercise, and this is one exercise I've inherited from my code trainings with Petri Hiramo, and I adjusted a little bit to my needs. It's called business value and risk management. That's the exercise when we talk a lot about business value, about customer value, about how to identify value, later on also about stakeholder management. And what we do here is a hands-on exercise also to get a little bit more into what value is all about, what's the difference between output and outcome. Already had that in the first day a little bit. And we do that with a fun exercise, actually. It's a four-layered approach to identify value and risk. And we start first of all, we take the product backlog items we created on the first day, and what the participants then need to do is they need to categorize them into four different layers and four different files or stacks on the table in a M, S, C, and W. And this stands for the Moscow principles for must, should, could, and won't, as you can see here on the images or on the board. Here's also the exact explanation of this exercise. And the yellow stickies, once again, they give you some insight into how it works. And the purple stickies, once again, they give you the mapping to the learning objectives for the CSPO classes. So we have then this categorization. So there is a M, S, C, and a W file. We immediately get rid of the W file because won'ts we just don't want to do. We will not do them. Yeah, we won't do them. And we also don't manage them in a product backlog. That's the approach here. Whenever somebody needs to decide, okay, we need to keep them for compliance reasons, whatever, this is a different story. I'm not talking about that in the course so much. What we talk about here is, do they have to be in a product backlog? No, they don't, because we won't do them anyway. So we save the time, this management bureaucracy time, for something else. The second round then is I'll give poker chips to the participants, and we reshuffle the items. We write on the back the letters M, S, or C. We reshuffle them, and then they need to give their poker chips to the product backlog items. So it's similar to dot voting, but the poker chips stand for business value or customer value. We briefly define what value means in our context. Usually in a real world scenario that would be done in workshops, and there would be an outcome with some criteria and factors for identifying value. Here we do it briefly. So, and then they assign their poker chips to some of these, no, down here, to some of these product backlog items. They have 10 per person. And once we have done that, we write the number of the poker chips, the amount of the poker chips on the post-its, on the stickies. Then there's another round and another round. The third round is about business risk. So it's not just about business value, but also what kind of risk is associated with that. and also about technical risk, which is just to get the idea of the concept of this exercise, because some people in the class, they have not really a clue what kind of technical risk is behind the items, but anyway, they need to come up with the best guess in the class. And in the end, we have a nice rating of these items. And that's when I draw this diagram here with the 4 quadrants, and I'll ask them, so we have now high value, high risk items, low value, low risk items, high risk, low value items, high value, low risk items. So which ones are, in your opinion, the first to start with? Yeah. And what I explained to them is, actually, I would start first with high risk, high value items, because what we want to grade is value, of course, but we also want to know very soon if a high risk is attached, whether this means we need to stop the production or need to do something else, right? Or something for mitigation. If the risk of failing, so a risk of stopping the production is really there, I want to know it right away so that I can save my money for that and not invest too much money. In the end, of course, this is an initial list for the product backlog, what the outcome is of that. So with all this rating, you'll see in the exercise explanation much more details about that. I don't go too much into detail for that, but that's really giving people in the class the strong understanding of the difference between value, outcome, and output once again. And what they also realize is that in the end of at the end of the exercise, about 50%, and that's the average in every course, and also in my real world applications in my own or company or with clients, 50% of these original ideas, of these original product backlog items get dumped. They just get dumped. Because what we also eliminate from the list is the high risk, low value items. No value attached, but a high risk. We don't do that. Except there's a must item in there, then it goes right away to the first pile and to the top of the product backlog. So what I've done that in real life, and that's a little bit of storytelling from myself then, is I've worked with many clients doing that for cleaning the product backlogs or getting a initial product backlog out of the room, or frequently to update the product backlog and once again get rid of those we don't need anymore, so that it's becomes smaller, it stays small, the product owner has a good overview of everything and so on. Yeah, like said, here are once again the learning objectives which are associated with that, also with the debriefing, what I explain in theory and from real life scenarios, what in Scrum is meant with that, what it means for a product owner, what it means for the product backlog, what additional practices could be used for that, and so on and so on. So, and that leads us then to the last part of my second half, of my third half day, so second day before lunch, and this is stakeholder management. Yeah, I've taken this exercise, or this example actually, it's more theory than an exercise, the theory from traditional project management. This is based on what I've learned decades ago at the university and with all my trainings in in project management, etc., in my studies. So taken from the stakeholder management theory, that we can have these 4 quadrants and so on. But you see on the post-its anyway what it means. And then again, it's time for lunch. Yeah, second day morning session ends pretty much here. Of course, what can always happen is that people have questions, that they add items to our course backlog or questions to the course backlog. If they fit into one or the other area and one or the other topic, I'll add them to that. So that's always an option in my courses. Good. That's it for the third half day, second day, the morning session.